I've never done good things. I've never done bad things.
Hi there, my name's Mick Billings and this is my David Bowie confessional for cheap things. Question 1. When did you first become aware of David Bowie? That would be 1980. I'd be 12 years old. Football daft, still am. I like music. I was kind of into a few bands really. There was sort of Adam and the Ants and Blondie, Squeeze, the Boomtown Rats. So that was the kind of music that I liked. But as I say, football was my main thing. But I just happened to be watching Top of the Pops one Thursday night at my parents' house, age 12, and this video came on. And it was a guy walking down a beach with a bulldozer behind him and a black sky. And I just remember thinking, what's this? And then there was a shot of him in this padded cell. And he just had a white shirt, black trousers, green boots, I remember. And I just remember thinking, whoa, who's that? And it was genuinely, for me, a life-changing moment. It was amazing. And people talk about, a lot of Bowie fans I hear, they say, oh, you know, watching Bowie on Starman in '73 was the moment for them, but for me, I was 5, so I don't remember that. So Ashes to Ashes was kind of my Starman moment really, and it was definitely a life-changing moment, and I've been a huge Bowie fan ever since. What did my mates make of him? I think at first, in sort of 1980 when I was 12, if you were a Bowie fan at school, you were considered to be a bit weird, probably gay, and just odd really. And I remember there being, you know, comments and just not very nice stuff about being a Bowie fan. You were considered a bit of a weirdo, I think. And that was the case for a couple of years, and there was only a couple of us kids who really liked Bowie. Me and there was a girl in my year called Joanne Aspin who I still sort of speak to now and again, and we were the only Bowie fans. Everybody else thought we were just a bit odd. But then it all changed 1983, so it didn't last long, because when Let's Dance came out, suddenly everybody was a David Bowie fan. You know, there was Let's Dance and then China Girl and Modern Love and then this big tour, and Bowie became a commercially accepted artist, and yeah, so loads of people were Bowie fans from there. But I was always really proud and pleased that, you know, that I was a Bowie fan before Let's Dance, that I'd sussed it out. My first Bowie gig was at the Milton Keynes Bowl, 1983, for the Serious Moonlight tour. I remember travelling down with my sister Andrea, and we got into this huge bowl. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. I've been to football matches with big crowds, but this was on another level. It was just mega. I remember leaving my sister at the back somewhere and muddling my way up towards the front and just being absolutely just surrounded by people, and you couldn't move, and I thought, I can't cope with this. But then he came on. I remember this yellow suit and blonde hair, and he was there, my hero, and I was watching him belt out all these hits. It was just amazing, an amazing experience for a 15-year-old kid. First gig and the first time I'd ever seen Bowie, so incredible. My favourite David Bowie album, well, I've thought about this one over the weekend, and it's an impossible one to answer as far as I'm concerned, because it changes constantly. I can't say definitively that's my favourite or that's my favourite. I've probably got a favourite 5, although I haven't really, because it's probably a favourite 10. But of those 10, if I had to pick a favourite 5 at any time, there would be two that would constantly be in that favourite five, and they would be Young Americans and Low. I would add though, definitively, my favourite David Bowie track is, or tracks maybe, is Sweet Thing Candidate, Sweet Thing Reprise. That's just definitely my favourite, and just a brilliant, brilliant piece of work as far as I'm concerned. Did you ever meet David? Yes. At this point, I have to confess that I am a friend of Mark Riley's. I'd be here regardless of whether I was a friend of Mark Riley's, because I'm a Bowie fan, and Cheap Things and the A to Z podcast are places that any Bowie fan who's got anything about him would be, because, you know, so I'm confident that I'd have found the podcast and this place anyway. But I have, as it happens, been friends with Mark Riley for over 20 years now. We've watched Manchester City together, myself, Mark, and his wife Trace, and we've been through some ups and downs following City, I can tell you, but we've struck up a great friendship over those years, and you know, we have a mutual love for football, but especially City, and music, and especially Bowie, so we get on great. So because of that, I've been very privileged, and I'm extremely grateful that Mark's got me into some incredible gigs to see Bowie, which is for another day maybe. But in 2003, David was to appear on the Mark and Large show in the afternoon, and then later that night he would be playing at the Manchester Evening News Arena in Manchester. And so Mark said to me, I'll get you in, I'll try and get you in to meet David. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And anyway, he rang me up on the day and he said, look mate, there's too many people in here, I can't get you in, security are going mad. You know, there's no way I can get you in. He said, but I have got your signed CD, and I'm going to the sound check at the arena shortly. Do you want to come with me? I was like, yeah, that'd be great, yeah. So I met Mark and his sister Tina after the radio show, and Mark gave me this reality CD signed to me, which, you know, the day could have ended there and I'd be absolutely over the moon, you know. But we went into the Manchester Arena, and the three of us just sat there in this empty auditorium, and there were a few of the band on stage just jamming at first, I remember. There was Jerry Leonard, nearest to us I think, and Gail Dorsey was there. Mike Garson was there, he had like a beanie hat on that was too big, it was a bit floppy. And they were just jamming there. I remember they were doing bits of China Girl, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then suddenly Mark was like that, and I looked, and just really casual, but just I remember a grey hoodie and jeans and a pair of sneakers or whatever, and he just sort of sauntered onto the stage, and I was like, oh God. And it was Bowie there in front of us, and he came to the microphone in this empty theatre and looked down and saw the three of us, and I remember he got into his microphone and he went, la 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 Lord, and Tina, and Lord's mate, that's me. So he then went on and he did sort of halves of songs and bits of songs, and we were all just whoa. But I do remember at one point he looked back at Mike Garson with this floppy hat he had on, and he said, he just went, ha ha ha, he, I'm a laughing gnome and you can't catch me. So, how many people can say they heard David Bowie sing the Laughing Gnome live? Well, I'm one of them, so, you know, that was amazing. But then we got up to go, we were leaving, and I remember Mark said, come on, you know, let's get out. But David stopped what he was doing and went to speak to Mark and made sure he was happy, and they were chatting away for what seemed like forever. And then Mark said, "Oh David, this is my mate Mick," and this is honestly how the conversation went. He said, "Oh hi mate, did you get your record?" "Yeah." "Ah, you're coming tonight, aren't you?" "Yeah." "Okay, I'll see you later." "Yeah." And that was honestly all I could muster was yeah. It was too much to be 3 foot away from this hero of yours who'd been on your bedroom wall since you were 12, and it just, I still can't explain it. It was just incredible. But it leads me on to question 6. What's my favourite piece of Bowie memorabilia? Well, obviously, it's my signed Reality disc from that day. So I've had it framed, and obviously usually it's got pride of place in my vault. But it just says Bowie 03 for Mick ! So yeah, that's my favourite piece of Bowie memorabilia, without a doubt. And really, question 7, that's covered by what I've just spoken about. That's obviously my favourite David Bowie story. But the fact, I think, that David remembered signing my CD for Mark Riley, because Mark told me afterwards that he must have signed hundreds of things that day. The BBC was just flooded with people wanting to get an autograph of Bowie, a signed album or his t-shirt or whatever, and Mark just nipped in and said, "Can you sign that for me, mate Mick?" And he was like, "Yeah," and he signed it, but then he, a few hours later, remembered that he'd signed it for me. So that's my favourite David Bowie story. Where was I when I heard David Bowie had passed away? I was at home in bed, and my phone had been on silent, and I woke up and I looked at it and I had like 10 missed calls and a few text messages, and I started reading these messages, and one I remember was from my son Joe, and it said, "Really sad news about David Bowie, Dad, I hope you're okay." And then I read a few more, and and they were all obviously relating to the fact that David had died, and I didn't believe it. And it was only when I got a text from Mark Riley saying, "Mate, I'm so sorry to have to tell you that David's passed away." That's when I knew it was true, and I was just numb. Just for the next few months, really, but that day in particular, just completely numb. Just couldn't believe it. I'd been playing the album Black Star constantly, and absolutely loved it. And from that day to now, I haven't been able to play it in full once. I just find it too upsetting. I remember that night watching the BBC News, the 6 o'clock news, and I was with my 2 sons, Joe and Liam, and the tribute came on, and the whole news programme was David Bowie, but there was a picture of candles and a tribute towards the end of the programme, and I just broke down in tears. And I think that's the one and only time that my 2 sons have seen me cry, and it was just such a sad day. I think the thing I miss the most about David Bowie is the chance that there's something new just around the corner. There's going to be a new Bowie single or a new album or an interview or even a photograph, something, you know, but that's not around anymore, and I think that's the thing I've found hardest to cope with. But what's helped me with that and made me realise that there's loads of us out there who feel like that, and it has been the A to Z of David Bowie, with Mark and Rob Hughes. It's been an absolute godsend, waiting for that every week and listening to it and laughing, and I actually got a mention a couple of times, which is just amazing. But you know, genuinely, it's a great Bowie resource, and you know, I've learned things that practically every episode I was like, I didn't know that, and wow, and you know, and I thought I knew so much, but I knew nothing. It's brilliant, and I'll be listening to it forever, I think. Okay, cheers.